We wanted to sing Life is a Dream, and we realized that some of you could certainly sing with us, but unfortunately I think the technology sort of messes that up, because
too bad.
we get this off sync reverb or feedback thing that starts happening. But life indeed is a dream, and never a better time to remember it than right about now. So. Life is a dream, time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Soar above reefs and worries, see joy and be free. Often on earth things of great worth, worldly ambitions divine. Sometimes a friend helps us ascend from life's stairs to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. So, if you want to unmute, you're welcome to, and you're welcome to interject a question or a comment. Narayana Dharmadevi suggested that we talk about things we've been doing during lockdown by way of keeping energy uplifted and keeping our sense of humor, which is a darn good thing to do.
It's a lifesaver.
It's a real lifesaver. It seems to me, I'll just share a few thoughts on the humor front, because it's one of these things that it's real easy. Oh,
jeez. You get that. I mean, I'll get that.
Okay.
Stick with this.
Okay. Naturally, the phone has to ring just as.
Hello?
We're right in the thick of it.
Well, that's humorous at least, right?
In India, Ramurti may remember this. Ramurti and Sita may remember this from when we all lived there. People would sometimes ask us or sort of pester us for, they would want a demonstration of our spiritual power, of our spiritual magnetism, and it's kind of like, what are you going to do? What are you going to, you just sort of wave your hand and vibhuti comes out or whatever. I mean, it's like we don't sort of tend to operate that way. I discovered a siddhi that I had, though, when I lived in India. I don't know why it manifested so particularly there, but every time, I shouldn't say every time, it seemed like every time I sat down to eat, my phone rang. Just bam! Just like, just as soon as the rear end hit the chair and the plate was ready, it's like phone rings. And often a call that I couldn't not take, it wasn't. So anyway, I developed a keen sense of appreciation for Divine Mother's little
sense of humor.
Curious sense of humor. Anyway, it's lively. But during this period, we have been extraordinarily busy, and you know, the first handful of days, it was kind of like one of those snowstorms or, you know, huge rainstorms where the power gets knocked out and, you know, you're kind of just cabin bound. You know, you're just sort of there, and it's like your whole rhythm is just all discombobulated. And then it kind of hit us both that we better hoist up our socks and get moving here, because, you know, this is like what we were born to do, is like help people and serve people and, you know, kind of lead the energy a little bit in some way, or in some ways. And so we started putting out a newsletter every single day, and we started recording videos every single day. We would post at least one video every day, and sometimes more depending on if there was a live event or some, you know, because we would stream our sadhanas, we would stream our kirtans, we would stream classes and whatever. Basically, we kind of went online starting before the middle of March, really. It was more like the 11th or 12th. And so basically after that first weekend, we got enormously busy, because we had our annual fundraising dinner came the previous week, and there was a little bit of, you know, the world hadn't quite caught on to the idea that we needed to start socially distancing yet, but the rumors were out there that there were, you know, getting to be momentum in that direction. But we decided to hold it anyway, because it was almost a full week before everybody went on lockdown. And
we are calling it the Last Supper.
And we basically had the Last Supper. It was very sweet, and it was really wonderful. And thank God we did it, because we would have been really short-handed financially, you know, leading into all this when everything changed. But anyway, it has been a creative and learning drama for us. And I realized, going back to the humor thing, that one of the reasons that humor is so important is because life and the path are going to engineer optimal ways, uniquely positioned ways for us to get tested in the moment to the limit of our capacity, and seemingly beyond that limit also. And the question is always going to come up, which way are you going to break? What are you going to do? Which way are you going to go with this? And there's this natural tendency to just get really, really annoyed, because it's like, no, I'm sorry, that's too much. I'll just give an example. This kind of falls in the humor category. So we started leading all our morning sadhanas. We had been leading one day a week. Suddenly we were leading 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday, 6 till 8 in the morning. And Thursday, I started doing energization at 5:45 in the morning, and then a long meditation for Thursday. And I found myself dreaming and wondering whether I was online while I was dreaming. Because, you know, some of the dreams were like kind of not up to par, and it was like, oh, this is a crummy dream. This is online. Oh my God, we're online. No, we're not online. Oh, that's such a relief. We're not online. I don't have to, my stupid dream doesn't have to be broadcast to the whole world. Anyway, so.
And we both had that experience.
Yeah.
We both would be in bed at night thinking, oh my God, is this online? Are we online?
So it's like, You know, and I've discovered that this is not just the two of us who've had this dream either. It's other people who stream stuff out of their house. It's like it gets right into your DNA and it, you know, it gets in amongst you. It's like,
Is my breakfast being streamed?
So anyway, we have discovered lots of opportunities to determine whether we're going to break towards humor and the enjoyment of the absurdity and intensity, or, you know, I mean, we coined the phrase in India, one of many phrases, because so many of our satsangs or our meaningful contacts with people would happen around meals. We coined the phrase that eating for God is martyrdom, and and as we gained weight, you know, as the bulged out farther. Anyway, so. Life without humor is not life, I think, is one thing we've decided.
Please unmute.
Yeah.
Okay. This is off the wall, but where were you in India? I love India. So where were you? I'd love to know.
We were very blessed to be in Delhi for 5 years with Ramurti and Sita for part of that time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then we moved to Pune, out in the country.
Pune City for a year, and then
Did we live in Pune City?
yeah, Pune City, because we were in that apartment.
Oh, that apartment.
And yeah, which was
Which was humorous.
which was humorous in its own way, because this was quite a drama. Anyway, we shifted down there with Swami, and we had organized to have brand new apartments. Actually, you know, as India goes, and as apartments go in India, these were pretty nice. I mean, we had a 3-bedroom, he had a 3-bedroom. You know, they were decent. They had their pluses and minuses, but you know, they were pretty functional. The electricity stayed on most of the time. Compared to Gurgaon, the Delhi area, where the power was on and off constantly, I mean, and sometimes for days together, and we'd have to have generators running, you know, anyway.
But we loved India.
We loved India.
We especially loved all the people there, and we still keep in contact, you know, almost 8 years later. We keep in contact with a lot of our friends there because the relationships were just so dear.
Yes, I found that it was easier to get to an open-hearted place with people from India because they offer that.
Yeah.
And so it's easier, it makes it easier for me to open my heart. So it's like this immediate kind of recognition in each other. I was there working on the Gabriel Project. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful program and organization that helps in Kalwa slums. It helps provide water and food, and it's just really amazing. I was there for 6 months in Mumbai.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. So, and I miss it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you've really spent time in India, you never entirely return from there. is the feeling I had. Coming back to America was hard. That was a hard landing, a hard reintegration.
A hard culture.
Yeah, we did not feel.
Ours, yes.
We did not feel American, and frankly, still don't really. And it's surprising how. You know, you swim in the water of America your whole life, and you kind of don't realize you're swimming in that water, and then you leave it for a while and come back to it, and it's like, oh, there's a color and a flavor and a character to this water that I had not sort of remembered or tuned into in the same way. And
it's really good. I recommend that everybody live in another culture for a while. It really helps break your self-definitions.
Yeah, you really kind of learn about yourself and just to see a broader world, a bigger reality that's way beyond whatever you assumed in the past. You know, we lived in Italy with Ram way back when, in the late 1980s, and you know, we all got fairly fluent in Italian, Ram particularly so, and it's just a different world. You know, you operate on a different wavelength. You know, we remember being with Swami speaking Italian. He would speak Italian. He would teach in Italian, and his bhav, his way, his whole mode of expression was very different. And
He was much more devotional.
much more in the heart.
And then when he got to India, he was just wide open.
Yeah. I came to the assessment that Swamiji's, if you could ever say that anything characterized someone like Swami, which is really a stretch, but it's like his soul was Indian, his human nature was European, and he really resonated beautifully with Italian, and his working functionality was the American side. You know, that was sort of the executive, let's get it done, let's do it now, let's do it today, like immediately. You know, that was the American side, which he needed to have developed, but he felt much more comfortable in these other cultures, to my way of looking at it, especially later in his life when he had spent considerable time in both of those cultures, living there. He seemed less comfortable in America. You know, he'd come to the Hermitage and he would kind of immediately get caught up in projects, because that's how his mind operated in America, was get the project done, let's move, let's go. And even when his body was tired.
His sense of humor was just amazing. You know, speaking of humor earlier, I think of Swami when he was older. He was 85 or something like, maybe 84, sometime in there. I remember him talking to me saying, my hearing is gone, my sense of taste is gone, I can hardly walk, and then we started laughing because of all the senses, I've still got my sense of humor.
And he did too, he really did.
He had a P.G. Woodhouse book that he was reading right up until the day he passed away. He was reading P.G. Woodhouse.
And, you know, he would sometimes read at odd moments, you know, at a satsang in India or on a trip or something. He just would pull out a book and kind of impromptu read and from it out loud. And, oh my God, there were times when he would just howl and, you know, the tears would run down. I mean, I remember discovering that there are these muscles in the back of your head, kind of above and behind your ears, and they get sore when you laugh for an extended period of time. It's like you're exercising muscles in your head that you didn't know you had. I mean, there's literally, you know, now maybe I'm just a muscle head, I don't know, but anyway, it was a very interesting thing. I remember laughing so hard that tears ran down my face, and then my head started hurting because I was working these muscles so hard. Anyway.
My favorite, I have so many memories of that period, but I had a fruit man, you know, that I always bought fruit from, and when I left India, I had a very hard time coming back. I was crying every day. It was like, I kept saying, it's so sterile here, it's so sterile, it's pretty, but it's sterile. And I decided I needed to go back to India. This time I didn't work on a project, but just to see if it was as wonderful as I thought it was. So I came back and I found a place in the same area. And as I went the first day down to get some fruit, the man looked up and he looked at me and he said, "So long." yes, I'm home, I'm home.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And for him, it was so long, and
Where were you?
it was like, why? How could you leave? Why would you go? I mean, come on, it's all here.
Where have you been?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's
And,
really-
and on my side, it's like, he remembers me. How could that happen? Oh my gosh, it's really nice. And then I thought, oh, the woman at Bonds doesn't remember me. I could be coming here 10 years and she wouldn't remember.
She would
Not
make an
that it's
effort
important.
not to remember.
yeah,
Yeah, not that it's important to be remembered, but it is special.
yeah.
Well, it's those human contacts that make life worth living, and it's been shown that those contacts really help us with our health, with our physical health and mental health. People need that interaction. One of the things that's so difficult about this quarantine is just how isolating people in this society already are. And now with this, people are lonely. There's depression. There's, a lot of problems coming up. The riots were certainly justified because of all the injustice that's been happening. But I think there's an aspect of the riots that happened just because people were so pent up and so frustrated being cooped up with their own thoughts. That's not being able to be distracted by going out and working off energy. They're just having to go inside. A lot of marriages broke up because, it's too much pressure. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those living in small apartments or spaces that don't lend themselves to real separation, where you can kind of have your own space and just, chill out. It's like you're just kind of on top of each other all the time, and people are not accustomed to that. One of them is off at a job, or both of them are off at jobs, or whatever, and it's like you have all this extra space that suddenly isn't there. And people who haven't made an inner life, it's really, you don't just suddenly create that. That doesn't just sort of sprout up fully formed in life. It's like you have to nurture that and develop that. And anyway, it's a challenge for sure.
Absolutely.
So what have you all been doing during lockdown? How are you coping?
I've been getting active in registering for Zoom programs and
Good.
starting to actually figure out how to do that, because I'm tech very ignorant. So, just learning how to connect up again is really important.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good. Others?
And we lost Thousand Oaks. That's where I've been a member for a year.
Yeah.
But, so one of my bases is on.
Yeah, I have to figure out how to reconnect it some other way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here I am.
Good.
Thank you so much for coming, Dharmadas and Nirmala. And sorry I was a little late. Our internet connection wasn't going, and speaking of humor, I caught myself getting caught. I was venting at our new 1-year-old cats that I think had knocked off the cording, or I got in a little bit of a, and then it was good to be here and remember, oh yes, a sense of humor, that's good. And thank you. Maya is always looking for little ways to
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah, she's a sorceress. But thank you. And I've been trying to do my best, trying to see what seems to be happening, and it's serving in yoga classes, Ananda Yoga. And,
Good.
And just trying to be present, and it's been so healing I've been really enjoying these satsangs too.
Good.
These 11 a.m. ones we've had. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but they've helped me tremendously during this time. And I don't know. It hasn't really been a hardship for me, for some reason. I think it's because of the Kriya and the time of. I mean, I'll be honest. There's a part. I not thought that I want this to be forever, but it'd be great to get out more. But I've been trying to see what was trying to happen, and the man Sam, who's a dear soul, and he's a devotee, had suggested to write a book, and I said, okay, well, I won't deflect it. I'll keep an open mind. He's not the first person to say that. And I've just been asking Master to guide me, and lo and behold, I've got like 7 notepads within like a month and a half full of. Wow. It's just it's different than how it's been when I would do it, and it felt I could feel the gears grinding. I don't feel the gears grinding right now. I just feel
that's wonderful.
And thank you. And I don't know where it's going. And then I just listened to Dana Lynn Anderson last night, and she said it's a good thing not to know where you're going. Just be in the process of doing it. So that's so anyway. Thank you both, and I really appreciate the reminders of humor and all your dedication and time on the path. Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you. Good luck with your book. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's really.
Thank you. I feel a lot of grace.
Wow. Good.
Thank you.
You know, that's just such an important. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ron.
I just wanted to say hi to you both.
Good to see you.
Hi, Ron.
Great to see you. And I'm going to put a plug in here for everyone who's listening. In a week from Friday, we're going to be Ananda Sacramento is sponsoring a play on Zoom, and we're going to get the announcement out this week. But it's going to be really exciting because it's the life of our guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, taken from the autobiography of a yogi when he was a child. And so we have different voices, people from around the planet, from India and Sacramento, Los Angeles, and places far beyond even. So we're hoping to get at least 100 people involved in watching this, and we hope the technology will support it.
yeah, I think it will. I think it will. Yeah, that's great.
So anyway, it's great to see you both, and
it's so great to be here and to see you too.
Fond memories of our time in Italy together, and
lots of adventures.
And I was just one of the new products that Crystal Clarity is producing is the Amazing Grace CD that I recorded in Gurgaon.
Wow, great!
That's fabulous. Wow,
fantastic.
Yeah,
good. Oh,
yeah.
what a
So
blast.
we just put it on our website, the song Amazing Grace. And you can download it for 99 cents.
Wow.
As you know, Swamiji and you guys were there for the entire recording. And Swamiji actually did a rewrite of the song Amazing Grace, changed some of the lyrics. And so we have those changes, and it's really exciting. Yeah. So,
wow. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, what a kick.
So,
we'll have to get that.
But just to catch up, I've been doing a lot of farming and gardening, and I've got plants to put in. I've come out of the garden just to be with you guys.
Oh, good. Oh.
We've been
a lot
loving
happening with Crystal Clarity, and it's we're in a whole new incarnation in Southern California.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's really good to see you, and
thank you. So good to see
and
you.
Sincere love. She's here working with her job. So she's at home working, and I'm at home going with the flow.
Okay, sounds good.
We started a little garden in a bed right outside our living room window, which has just been wonderful. We're already harvesting zucchini and peppermint and basil and arugula, and
Wow.
we have potato plants growing really high, and chard and nasturtiums and all kinds of fun things out there.
That's a hoot.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, gardening's
Yeah.
been a great thing to do during lockdown.
Yeah, yeah. Way to get grounded.
Yeah, really,
Absolutely.
really. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, being creative, speaking to what Paul was talking about, Swami would demonstrate this in his life, and he didn't just demonstrate it for his benefit, he demonstrated it for our benefit, so that we would take that kind of thing on, which is when some unpredictable, awkward, challenging situation comes, get creative, raise up the energy, have a sense of, living in the moment, testing it out, trying it out, not worrying if something doesn't work, just moving on to where the flow is trying to guide us. And I love that little bit you were saying from Dana, it's better to not know where you're going. I honestly think for Swamiji that was really true also. He would go into a project, and yeah, he might have some idea of something, but then the energy itself, he would just let Master guide his hands, guide his thoughts, guide where it was going. Even the song Peace, Ram would know this, but maybe others of you might not. When Swami wrote that song, he thought it was going to come out humorous. And it was for a play that he was working on. And it was from Singer and the Nightingale, and it was going to be the melody on A, which is sort of a crazy thing. How can you have a melody on one note? And then the song that came was its own, it's like a baby that was born a saint, not a baby who was born a joker. And so he went with that, and it's just an amazing thing. So, yeah, being creative, it always keeps the juices flowing, always keeps the grace moving, always keeps us on our toes, and that's just really important.
I remember a time when the lawsuits were happening in the 90s, and Swami had been deposed with a camera shoved right in his face, trying to, make him lose his temper for 80 hours. And he had the weekend off, and then he had to come back and do it all again on Monday, be deposed some more. And so we just thought he would come home for that weekend and collapse, not see anybody, and just stare at the ceiling. But instead, he recorded how many albums? 3 albums?
Yeah.
And one of them was An Evening in Italy, and it had When You Come to Napoli. And if you listen to that song, it's just humor personified. It's so sweet and so fun. When the first time we heard it, we weren't at the recording session, but we heard that song. We were in our house and we started dancing. It was just delightful. And that kind of creativity and joy came in the midst of one of the most horrible periods of Swami's life. But that's who he was. When faced with controversy and anger and hatred and all that sort of negative energy, these people were horrible to him with that deposition. It was just awful. But how did he respond? He just put his energy into something beautiful, positive, filled with joy that's still a light in our lives. That was his response.
And just a great example for how we can choose which level we're going to respond at. You know, he same period of time, you know, under tremendous pressure from the courts, from the financial realities, from the legal realities, and there was this terrible earthquake in Italy. And again, Ram will remember this because, you know, Ram and Nirmala and Swami did a little sort of a, I don't know if you could call it a tour, but I mean they did some concerts for Hope and Homes in Italy. Was that the right name? I think that's right.
You remember that, Ram?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he raised $15,000 for developing, you know, for helping housing, you know, people who had lost their homes in Italy. And I think the local ministries in Italy didn't know what on earth to do with this. I mean, but it actually did help the energy with the local comunes over there. And, you know, it was just his way of saying, look, what comes at me I can't change. But what I do with that I have a choice about. And by golly, I'm going to choose to do what I choose to do with it. And what I choose to do with it is to give, is to serve, is to bless and be of some inspiration to the world. And
put out energy.
Put out the energy. And by golly, he did. And I still remember that. It's very sweet that Ram and Nirmala were the two who were involved with him in that. And, anyway, sweet.
You know,
That was sweet.
Dana was saying last night, we had this webinar with Dana on using creativity to reverse the cauldron of chaos. And part of a series of such programs we're doing on Tuesday nights. But she was saying too, in reference to this, that the thing is, you've got to live just beyond the past. You know, you can't keep the past with you. So when Swami recorded the albums, I mean, he wasn't living in what had just happened to him the previous week, or when he was going and doing that. And it's like she was just saying, that blocks our creativity. And of course, it also blocks the flow of the divine as well. If we keep ourselves tied to what someone just said to me, or how I just didn't do this very well, or whatever it may be, we have to live on that cutting edge. And kind of the way we've heard it said too many times is living in the now, but there's something very, very real, true about it. And of course, surrounded by this set of turbulent times that we're in, if we live in those too much, we're doing the same thing. We're living in what's just happened instead of just on the edge of the incredible world that's in front of us that we can make very different than if we stay stuck in the past.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, there's one of the Living Wisely, Living Well readings from earlier in the year, it might be even early in January, talks about the importance of leaving behind even success from the past. You know, it's easy to get caught up in failure and thinking, oh, I shouldn't have, or I should have, or whatever. But even when we've done something really, really well, we also have to leave that behind, because there's a present moment now, and we can't live in that past. And that's something, you know, Swami could always have referred back to his days with Master and how beautiful it was and all of that. And he chose to stay right here and right now with us, creating, sharing, inspiring, and, you know, it's really, it's a special thing.
But I think it's important to emphasize that we are not helpless in this. We do, even though it seems like, who am I? Just one little person, what can I do? But people can meditate, People can pray, people can keep their consciousness uplifted. That's why Paul writing a book or Ron planting a garden, all these things are uplifting energy. And the more we can stay in that uplifted state of consciousness, the more helpful we are to the overall energy. Studies have been done in cities where people meditate in an area and the crime rate goes down in that area. So we have an influence more than we realize. Yeah. Maybe because we have our eyes shut when we're meditating. Mm-hmm. But we are influencers. So in that sense, we have a real responsibility to keep our energy light, joyful, centered, loving. Keep thinking of what we can give. Keep thinking of meditating deeper, taking this time to explore the practices. Maybe work on Kachari Mudra if you've never done that before. It's a great time to explore the spiritual path. And generally speaking, those of us who have a spiritual life are doing a lot better than people who are just have a worldly consciousness and trying to spend their time watching TV. You know, getting caught up on all the Game of Thrones episodes that you missed. You know, oh God. Keep your mind high. Keep yourself creative. Keep yourself working in the garden or writing books or doing something, making music.
I did a fun thing that I've never done before that we've done several things that we've never done before recently, but one of them was we had a book study group on Yogananda's, two of Yogananda's books, how to achieve your highest potential and how to be a success. And for the How to Be a Success book, I decided to read the book
record
it to post to the attendees of the book study group, because some of them, you know, reading is a challenge. That's not an easy way for them to assimilate. And that book is a powerful book. I was visualizing The Law of Success, which is also a wonderful little book, but it's a little book. I mean, you can finish that book in one sitting. Whereas this book, I mean, it's 100 pages and it's really, really in depth. And what struck me is to try to say Master's words out loud, to try to speak those words. And I didn't try to play with Bengali accent or any of that. I just tried to express the consciousness that he put into those thoughts. And I tell you, I could feel his consciousness in a way that I had never done before. I've sung his chants for 40 years. I've sung Swamiji's music for the better part of 40 years too. And, all of those things communicate. But somehow to do that brought me into his consciousness in a way that I had never tuned into before. And it was just very, very powerful. And so to try some things, memorize the poem Samadhi if you've never done that. Years and years ago, I printed it out. I had access to a printer that printed on 17 by 22 paper. So these, like 4 8.5 11s. And I printed out 2 of these things so that the type on it was big enough that you could read it from across the room. And I would listen to Swami reading the poem Samadhi in the metaphysical meditation that he does with the beautiful music from the planets in the background. And I just would memorize 2 or 3 lines, and then another day or two I'd memorize another line or two. And I don't know, it took me a few weeks, a couple weeks maybe, something like that, but I got the whole thing. And it helped to have it locked into the music. I really think the music part of it helped. But just trying something, like Nirmala's saying, Kachari Mudra, or, there are so many deeper and deeper and deeper levels of the path that we can tune into. Savitri shared a wonderful one that she has practiced over the years. She said, every year I will pick a yama or a niyama, and I will spend the whole year focused on that yama or niyama. And she said, now it's been 45 years. I've been through the whole stack, 4 or 5 times, depending on which one. And, you think, gosh, a whole year on, nonviolence, a whole year on contentment, or God forbid, cleanliness, whatever. I mean, you just think, whoa, that could get really gnarly. But it's a beautiful exploration, and these topics, there is enough depth in them that we can just keep going deeper and deeper.
Okay. Anything else anybody wants to ask before we sign off?
Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you.
All. Thank you
Thank
for
you
having
so much.
Thank you, Ramurti and Sita, for hosting us.
us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Our
I'm
love
hoping that
to everyone.
I'm hoping that one of the things that comes out of this time is that we may be able to do sharing between communities, even when we're all back in person, using this technology, so we can stay more
Absolutely.
connected and more together.
Absolutely.
Not just see each other once a year at spiritual renewal,
Really true.
but be able to go deeper then together, because we've stayed in touch all year.
Yeah, this
So
has
God
been
bless
great.
you, and
Thank you.
God bless your work in
God bless you.
Sacramento. Great souls.
Yeah.
Thank you all so
Thank you
much.
all.
Thank you.
God bless
you.
them. Give our love to Narayana and Dharma Devi. Take
We
care.
certainly will.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. God bless.
Be well.
You
You
too.
too.
You too. Be well.
Happy gardening.
Jai Guru.
Enjoy some zucchini for me.
Okay, we will.